The world of Invincible is one filled with supernatural beings ranging from superhumans, giant kaijus, aliens, sentient robots, and more. But among all the inhabitants of this universe, one race reigns supreme, the Viltrumites. A race of superpowered individuals akin to Kryptonians or Saiyans, the Viltrumites have conquered many planets and galaxies, each member strong enough to destroy cities on their own. With each of its members boasting such extraordinary power, it's safe to say that the Viltrumites are a formidable force to be reckoned with. However, back on Earth, a similar threat to the universe has been brewing. What happens when you take the Viltrum Empire and put them in the same world as that of murder drones? Let's say the Empire recognized Cyn as a threat to their rule, and instead of sending Omni-Man to conquer Earth, they sent Omni-Man to solely take out or neutralize Cyn in any way he can. My name is Mr. Cricket, and today I will be analyzing both Omni-Man and Cyn's feats to figure out if one of the elite officers of the Viltrum Empire could eliminate this threat not only to the Viltrumites but the whole universe. And just a quick heads up, there will be spoilers for both the Invincible comic and Murder Drones, so if you haven't watched or read both of them entirely, feel free to click off.
You don't seem to understand. Earth isn't yours to conquer.
Nolan Grayson, otherwise known as Omni-Man, is an elite officer of the Viltrum Empire who was assigned Earth as his planet to conquer. Instead of actually conquering the planet, he decided to settle down and have a child with a human. Said child would then convince him to turn against the Viltrumites, replacing their current leader at one point and insisting in destroying the planet Viltrum. But this time, Omni-Man will only want to destroy Cyn. So, how strong is Omni-Man? We can start by scaling Omni-Man's AP. Season 1 of Invincible has shown that Omni-Man can absolutely decimate Mark without any difficulty. The same Mark could throw half a meteor to the moon at near light speeds. His feat has been calculated to be at island level. Mark has also survived attacks from the Omega Tech Jacket, who could produce an explosion affecting the entirety of America, a feat calculated at large island level plus. Omni-Man should upscale this version of Mark at the very least, putting his AP at around large island level plus at least. Of course, this isn't the limit to Omni-Man's AP, as he has assisted in destroying Viltrum. Do note though that this feat took both Space Racer's Ray Gun Blast to destabilize the planet's core, and he needed help from Mark and Thetis to destroy the planet. Assuming Viltrum was the same size of Earth, this feat was calculated at small planet level. Omni-Man should scale to a third of the feat, which is still 0.567 zetatons of TNT, or small planet level for his AP. However, since Space Racer's Ray Gun Blasts were stated to be capable of piercing stars, and it couldn't destroy Viltrum on its own, we could highball Omni-Man by saying that Viltrum is as big or bigger than a star, meaning that Omni-Man would scale to somewhere around small star and baseline star level if this was the case. This scaling also applies to his durability, since he also survived the impact with his planet, also putting it at small planet level or up to star level as a highball. So as far as I know, this is the upper limit on Omni-Man's AP, so we'll move on to speed. For Omni-Man's speed, we can upscale him from Invincible, who could casually travel at 800,000 km per hour, or Mach 671, putting him into the massively hypersonic plus tier of speed. We could also scale Invincible to Alan the Alien, who was stated to be able to travel at near light speed, which would be anywhere from the relativistic to relativistic plus tiers of speed. Omni-Man being superior to Mark in an early Alan would put him at relativistic plus at bare minimum. This isn't the end, however, as Omni-Man has flown from Earth to another planet with life in the span of a week. Since we don't know how far the Thaxton's planet is from Earth, the best we could do is assume he flew to the nearest star system, that being Alpha Centauri, which is around 4.2 light years away. This feat was calculated to be around 221 times the speed of light. Some people may say that he flew from the solar system to the Virgo supercluster and not Alpha Centauri, so this would scale Omni-Man's speed to around 3 billion times the speed of light. But this cannot be the case since the solar system is already inside the Virgo supercluster, meaning that it would be impossible for him to fly to the Virgo supercluster if he was already inside of it. But that's not all. Omni-Man was constantly accelerating himself in order to reach this level of speed, and that acceleration takes time to do. And it can only be done in space since there's no air resistance. This means that Omni-Man's speed would be around 221 times faster than light at most, while his regular flight speed should be nowhere near this unless he has time to accelerate. The scaling also applies to his combat and reaction speed since reflexes in the Invincible universe scale with travel speed, so this concludes the speed scaling and we'll be moving on to Omni-Man's abilities. In terms of abilities, Omni-Man doesn't have much going for him besides punch and fly really fast. Viltrumites are made of smart atoms which allows them to live for hundreds of years if not thousands of years, allows them to adapt to different situations or needs such as reproduction or with other species or long-term survival. They also have the ability to regenerate parts of their body, though this regeneration is not instant and they can only regenerate to a limited extent. Any limbs cut off will be unable to be regrown and such. One notable aspect of smart atoms is that they allow Viltrumites to survive extreme temperatures such as the coldness of space or extremely high heat, such as the surface of the sun, which can reach up to 5,600 degrees Celsius or about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit, though they will eventually give in once enough time has passed. Other than that though, Omni-Man has no other notable abilities, so this about wraps up the scaling for Omni-Man and I will be moving on to Cyn.
You didn't have to see this.
Cyn, or technically the Absolute Solver itself, was a worker drone that once worked as a maid in Elliot Manor. Taken in by Tessa, Cyn integrated herself into the manor with all the other maids and butlers serving the Elliot family, until one day when Cyn decided to murder everybody in the manor and blow up Earth just for the fun of it. Eventually, she would kill and wear Tessa's skin to impersonate her, get onto Copper 9, and then blow another hole through the planet because she got a little bit hungry. In this scenario, Cyn will need to fight Omni-Man head-on, so how will she fare against the likes of Omni-Man? I'll actually be scaling her durability first since her AP scales off of that. Cyn doesn't really have many AP feats, so this will have to do. We can start off by scaling the first feat ever shown in the series, Worker Drone surviving the Copper 9 explosion. The explosion happened because of Nori trying to blow up the planet, but being weakened enough to only do half the original damage she was intending to do, which still blew a giant hole from Copper 9's core all the way to the surface. This feat has been calculated to be at large planet level. Since Nori and Yiva both tanked the blast at the center, they would scale to this pretty handily. By nature of worker drones, they should all be made out of the same metal, so Cyn should scale to the explosion, putting her durability at large planet level. There are also other feats to support the planetary scaling, like Cyn blowing another hole in Copper 9 at near the end of episode 7, which was calculated to be at planet level plus. Uzi survived this explosion without any noticeable damage, which fits in with the other workers' large planet scaling seen in earlier episodes, meaning they would also scale to this and above it. But the feat I've seen most people talk about when scaling murder drones is Cyn blowing up Earth. This feat uses the null string of Absolute Solver to create a black hole which rips apart the Earth. There have been some debate about whether or not this is a real black hole, but since Dahl and Eldridge J have both made black holes in the past and they didn't have access to null, I think it's safe to say that these are black holes, considering how they can suck things in like a black hole would. But I will still treat this as a highball just to be safe. The energy required to create this black hole has been calculated to be at around 3.1 flow or large star level. Of course, this would only apply to null and wouldn't apply to her physical stats. So, in conclusion, Cyn's durability and AP is large planet level, with her AP being able to reach up to large star level at a highball. This concludes the scaling for Cyn's durability and AP, so we'll move on to speed. In regards to speed, Murder Jones characters may scale faster than some people expect. Of course there aren't many speed feats, but the few we actually have do scale them pretty fast. The first one that comes to mind is V and Dahl both reacting to bullets and stopping them. This should require reaction speeds of up to the Supersonic or Supersonic Plus tier. There's also an instance of Uzi reacting to and dodging Jay's laser from all the way back in episode 1, a feat which I've calculated to be at around 17% the speed of light, or in the relativistic tier of speed. Cyn would obviously scale to this since workers are all the same in every aspect besides the accessories they choose to wear, so she would also be in the relativistic range of speed. One more obscure feat that has been calculated is a worker drone dodging Tessa's landing pod, taking into account the distance between Earth to the Copper system, which is where Copper 9 is located. The landing pod speed has been calculated to be at around 216 times faster than light at a low ball, and up to 6,582 times faster than light at a highball. The worker being able to dodge the landing pod would give them reaction speeds of up to 216 times the speed of light. I'll use the low ball for this one since I also used the low ball for Omni-Man speed. So Cyn will scale to around relativistic to massively faster than light for speed. This wraps up her speed scaling and we'll be moving on to her abilities. In contrast to Omni-Man's very simple and basic abilities, Cyn has access to a wide variety of different hacks and abilities provided by the Absolute Solver program. We have directly seen Cyn use telekinesis, manipulate technology or electricity, shapeshift, teleport, and even cause planet-destroying explosions with Null. On top of that, we see Absolute Solver manipulate matter to duplicate weapons, regenerate bodies, and even transmute objects into living creatures. She's able to create after images, make force fields, turn parts of herself invisible, and she has effective immortality due to regeneration and due to her being the solver itself, meaning that it could just manifest in a different host if its main host, that being Cyn, is killed. And to top it all off, Cyn has resistance to all the abilities listed above since Absolute Solver abilities don't work on Absolute Solver users. If we're using her highballed AP, Cyn would also gain Black Hole Creation since that AP scaling relies on this ability. Though it should be noted that Absolute Solver users are weakened by crucifixes or patches as they're called in the show, but I don't see this being relevant in the fight even if Omni-Man knew about the weakness. And that concludes the scaling for Cyn, so it's about time I give my take for who wins this matchup. Taking into account their physical stats, it's clear that Cyn has the overall edge. Even with Omni-Man's speed being 221 times FTL, that's only a bit faster than Cyn's 216 times FTL. Such a small difference wouldn't affect the battle in any meaningful way, so when it comes to speed, they're pretty much equal. It also definitely doesn't help that Cyn is far superior to Omni-Man in terms of AP and durability. The gap between small planet level and large planet level may not seem like much at first, but when I compared their actual energy output, Cyn's AP came out to roughly 12 million times stronger than Omni-Man, so there's no way that Omni-Man can do anything to Cyn. That, along with Cyn's much better abilities, which give her multiple one-shot options on Omni-Man, gives Cyn the win pretty comfortably. In fact, she might not even need to do anything to win the match. Cyn's characters in the Invincible universe literally get squished and splattered into blood if they collide with something way more durable than them, as shown when Mark was fighting Thrag's children. Omni-Man might just kill himself if he tries to fly headfirst into Cyn, making this matchup even more unfair. So Omni-Man can't beat Cyn normally, but what about their highball versions? Omni-Man with highball stats against Cyn with highball stats, who'd win then? Well, Omni-Man would definitely have a better chance, considering he would now have way higher AP than Cyn's durability, meaning he could one-shot her if he landed a hit. If Omni-Man manages to tag Cyn once, he'll win instantly. But the issue arises when we highball Cyn's speed. Omni-Man's speed would still come out to around 221 times FTL, whereas Cyn now gets all the way up to 6,582 times FTL. Omni-Man wouldn't even be able to perceive Cyn attacking him at all, let alone land a hit on her. Though Omni-Man does have far superior durability, Cyn can simply just use her null to create a black hole on him or turn him into a puddle using matter manipulation. He hasn't gained any resistance to her abilities. No matter how you look at it, Omni-Man just has no chance, even if we highball him. So the winner of this matchup is undoubtedly Cyn. So in the end, Omni-Man is unable to stop Cyn, instead dying in battle heroically and fighting against the biggest threat in the universe. or at least that's my take on it. If you disagree with me, feel free to say so in the comments, and consider leaving a like or subscribing, as I would really appreciate it. Thank you for watching and good night.